Hello dear viewers, and welcome back to the ancient dwarven hold of our ancestors. Today, rather than talk about a specific game, I'm going to discuss something that is a bit of an interesting subject: video game difficulty. Before we get onto that, dear viewers, if you like what I do down here in the ancient hold, then perhaps consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, giving the video a like, and perhaps leave a comment with your own thoughts on the subject. I make effort to reply to everyone that does. So what exactly is difficulty in regard to video games? What does that mean, old dwarf, I hear you say? I guess it's not a bad idea to ponder what we wish to convey with this word. Game difficulty can be expressed in many different ways and can apply to numerous aspects of game playing, as I'll get into. But to have some sort of starting place, my simple enough definition would be that a game's difficulty is a measure of how skillful and knowledgeable a player must be to overcome game mechanics and succeed in said game. This is fairly simple a description, which can blanketly apply to a lot of games and what difficulty might appear to be. How the game actually goes about testing the player's skill and knowledge is obviously dependent on the game. For example, game difficulty in a one-on-one fighter might be how aggressive the computer-controlled opponent is, how often they use special moves, and how quickly and efficiently they react to your attacks. Then there's the difficulty in knowledge of what the other fighter's moves are and how you should counter them. There is of course the physical requirements from yourself. How quickly and easily can you pull off combos with your fingers so that you can fight the opponent efficiently. In a game like Bolt Gun, the Warhammer 40,000 retro FPS game, difficulty might be measured by the sheer number of baddies thrown at you, how sparse weapon and health drops are, and even your own HP. In The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, the difficulty describes how hard enemy NPCs hit you for, along with how much you hit them for. In an RTS, like Warcraft 3, difficulty might mean fewer starting resources and or more aggressive computer opponents. Then there is the tactical and strategic thinking, of having knowledge of what to build first, what units to go with in preparation for how the enemy might come at you. Then there's the sheer APM, or actions per minute. How quickly can you micromanage individual units while creating more troops and buildings? And then there is of course the straight up cheating that can happen, where the CPU or computer-controlled opponent will create forces that it couldn't possibly have the resources for, making it very hard for the player to overcome. An unfair and forced difficulty. What I've talked about so far are features that test skill and game knowledge, but that is not everything that difficulty could be. Indeed, the idea of difficulty goes further than arbitrary settings in a game menu. They can take on a more mental form that has an effect on how we feel while playing a game. With a first-person shooter, for example, not only is there lots of baddies running at you, which you physically need to destroy, the speed of gameplay itself can cause great anxiety to the player. Part of the difficulty could be overcoming the stress induced by the frantic gameplay long enough to complete the level. I would imagine this is similar if you played horror games, where you're trying to overcome your fear just as much as the more tangible difficulty measurements, such as enemy damage, mob size and all that. And then, dear viewer, there are games which introduce ethical difficulty. The difficulty of choice. Papers, Please, for example, presents you with a moral difficulty. The rules are strict for those who can come through immigration, but this old lady who wants to visit her child with false documents is looking at you solemnly, and you have to pay for food and your child is sick. It is a very interesting part of game design, the mental challenge you must try to overcome. The same could be said with difficult decisions in an RPG, like which character to side with, or destroying something to save someone else. There are probably further examples of difficulty, of elements of gaming that I haven't even thought about, but perhaps we've covered a broad enough range of them. Now we know how difficulty might manifest, perhaps we should talk about how we interact with that difficulty. By this I mean how as individuals we might use it to gain a measure of ourselves, and as a group how we might measure others. I know from my own personal experience that I've used game difficulty certainly as a way in which to gauge my own video gaming ability. In the past, perhaps, I may have said to myself that simply I must complete the game at a certain difficulty or I'm not a capable video gamer. That I fall below the line of what you might consider useful at this hobby. There is certainly that drive that can affect anybody, that desire to overcome a challenge, striving to do better, and achieving a certain level of prowess. In this old dwarf's opinion anyway, this is perfectly fine. It's fun to challenge yourself, to push your skills to new heights with a wonderful feeling when you rise to the top and overcome the obstacle you have set yourself. It is a positive thing to sometimes have a go at something you might deem outside of your current abilities. Indeed, that feeling when you defeat that seemingly impossible boss after attempt, or defeating that one map in an RTS is such a great feeling. You can grow as a gamer, achieving things you didn't think you could. I guess it's a common trait for us human beings, pushing ourselves to do better, to challenge ourselves. If this is how you enjoy video games, setting that task for yourself to defeat a game in a certain way, with no skills levelled and just a stick in hand, or whatever else, I say go for it. I really hope you achieve what you've set out to do. This is how some people engage with video games. There is a sense of competition that can exist in us, and that is totally fine. Of course, there is also the social implications of video game difficulty. Completing a scrolling beat-em-up on the hardest difficulty, defeating the end boss in an isometric ARPG and so on, can be a badge of honour and a way to measure other people and perhaps judge them through it. Oh, you can't beat boss X on this difficulty, so you must be a rubbish gamer. Could be the word someone uses to abash and discredit another person. This does happen, unfortunately. But, dear viewer, there are some of us old dwarves out there in the world that may not play a video game with the intention of pulling off some great feat. Simply completing the game on a medium or lower difficulty is totally alright with us. And this is because the difficulty of the game is not the main draw to whatever title you might be interested in. Sometimes it might be, but on the whole, a lot of gamers, like us old ones, play games for other reasons. Simply playing the game, existing in a different world for a time, is all that someone might ask for. Enjoying the gameplay and the setting might be all that you wish to do. You want to see and experience how the game feels, focusing on other aspects outside of difficulty to achieve a good feeling within you. This is because perhaps you don't have time to dedicate to the game, to learn all the things you need to know and to acquire the skill required to do the thing on the hardest difficulty, and you simply don't wish to. So, people play video games, and I guess other such endeavours, for different reasons. Escape from the world for a while is quite a prominent one. I know, and perhaps you know, people who have significant others, kids, jobs, mortgages, other people to look after, evil empires to rebel against, and so on. People like this do not have a lot of time for video gaming, so when they get a chance to, they may well not wish to be confronted with a difficult game to play. We all play video games for some form of escape, but perhaps for people with many responsibilities, that escape is all too real. They want some quality time away from the hustle and bustle of the real world. I already go to work X days a week. I don't want to come home and have to work again. This is a phrase I've had friends say to me before, and I think it is quite pertinent here. If a game is too difficult to learn, has tough mechanics and unforgiving gameplay, or requires a lot of grinding, then this may put off some people who might have otherwise played a particular game. Some games, though, are dedicated to being difficult to play, and only exist to be engaged with under a tough regime, your Souls-likes and all that. Some games are just geared towards different styles of play, and there are so many games out there that we can accommodate different abilities and desires, which is awesome. As I tend to say, I'm an old dwarf now, and probably have more time to spend playing video games than other people of my age. People with more spare time can dedicate themselves more to steep learning curves, or grind away quite happily, as they don't have as many responsibilities. So you think then that as I have more time to play, that I might be more of this persuasion, that perhaps I play some games on harder difficulties to prove my worth. To a certain degree I do. I am more than happy to grind away on games, as you can see from my channel here. But when it comes to putting myself up to the challenge, or defeating a boss on hard mode, or play a game hardcore, i.e. only allowing one death, then I'm usually not that bothered. I no longer worry about such things. I will play a game on the difficulty that I most enjoy, and that is usually a lower one than I might have chosen in my younger years. It is nice to experience a game, to go through the campaign and what have you, enjoying what's happening and having a bit of limited pushback to me succeeding. If I feel up for it, I can crank things up a bit as I wish. Indeed, I play a lot of scrolling beat-em-ups with Motherdorf, and her abilities are limited. By playing with her on easier difficulties, she gets to experience the game alongside me, and I can see the happiness that it brings her. That, if anything, is a great thing. Games being accessible, especially when we play together with our friends and family, is most awesome. So game difficulty can be talked about in numerous ways, I think we can safely say. We can also say that there are different reasons why people might play in the first place. There is a large scope for catering to different types of players. There is indeed something for everybody, which is a wonderful state to be in. You are a gamer, whatever difficulty you play on, dear viewer, that no matter what mode you might play a game on, how little you might know about the background of it, and the intricacies of game mechanics, you play the game how you want to. As long as your behaviour isn't affecting anyone else, why does it matter if you play a game on easy, or indeed very hard? I hope you just enjoy yourself, dear viewer. And there we go, dear viewer, another video from me here down in the Ancient Hold. I hope you found what I have rambled on about here somewhat interesting. Please feel free to leave a comment with your own thoughts about game difficulty. I will certainly do my best to reply. Thank you for watching, dear viewer, and I shall see you next time.